I am sitting in my small apartment on a quiet Thursday evening holding the only photograph I have left from when I was 4 years old. In the picture, I am smiling between two people who were supposed to love me forever, my mother Lucy and my father Derek. For 16 years, I waited for them to come back. I believed that one day they would knock on my door and explain everything. Then, out of nowhere, my phone rang with a call that changed everything. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop a comment below and hit that like and subscribe button. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My earliest memories are filled with warmth and laughter. I remember our little house in the suburbs of Ohio with its white picket fence and the big oak tree in the backyard. Lucy used to sing to me every night before bed. Her voice was soft and gentle, and she would stroke my hair until I fell asleep. Derek would come home from work and immediately scoop me up in his arms, spinning me around until I was dizzy with joy. On weekends, he taught me how to kick a soccer ball in our small backyard. I was not very good at it, but he cheered for me like I had just won the World Cup. Our neighbors, the Hendersons, would wave at us every morning, and Mrs. Henderson always gave me cookies when I walked by. Life felt safe. Life felt permanent. I was absolutely certain that my family would be together forever. That certainty was the foundation of my entire world, and I had no reason to question it. I was loved, I was protected, I was home. The day everything changed started like any other winter morning. I was 4 years old and Lucy woke me up earlier than usual. She told me we were going to visit Grandma Martha for a few days. I loved Grandma Martha. She lived in a cozy house that always smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. She had a garden full of flowers and a cat named Whiskers who let me pet him for hours. I packed my little backpack with my favorite toy car and my stuffed dinosaur, excited for the adventure. Lucy knelt down in front of me at Grandma Martha's doorstep and kissed my forehead. Her eyes looked different that morning, but I was too young to understand what that look meant. She said, "Mommy loves you so much, Marcus. Be a good boy for Grandma, okay?" Derek ruffled my hair and promised he would bring me a brand new toy car when they came back. I believed every word. Why would I not? They were my parents. I stood at the window and waved as their car disappeared down the street. I did not know that I was watching my childhood drive away. A few days turned into a week turned into a month. Every morning I asked Grandma Martha the same question. When are Mommy and Daddy coming back? At first she smiled and said soon. Then she started changing the subject. Then she stopped answering at all. I watched her try to call Lucy and Derek dozens of times. The phone would ring and ring with no answer. Eventually, the number was disconnected. I remember sitting on the stairs one afternoon, listening to Grandma Martha talk to her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. Her voice was shaky, and I could hear her crying. She said, "They just left him here. They changed their number. They are gone." I did not fully understand what those words meant, but I felt something break inside my chest. It was a feeling I would carry with me for the next 24 years. 6 months after they left, a letter arrived. Grandma Martha read it alone in her bedroom, and when she came out, her eyes were red and swollen. She never showed me that letter, but years later, I found it hidden in a box in her closet. The words are burned into my memory. Lucy wrote that she and Derek had moved to California. They said they realized they were not ready to be parents. They said they needed to find themselves and live their lives. They asked Grandma Martha to raise me because they knew she would do a good job. There was no return address, no phone number, no apology, just a few paragraphs explaining why a 4-year-old boy was not worth keeping. Grandma Martha was a 70-year-old widow living on Social Security checks. She had arthritis in her hands and a bad hip that made walking painful. She had every reason to say no. But she looked at me, her only grandchild, abandoned and confused, and she said yes. She chose me when my own parents did not. Growing up without parents in a world designed for families with parents was like walking through a maze where everyone else had a map except me. Grandma Martha did everything she could to fill the void. She learned to cook my favorite meals, even though her hands ached from the effort. She read me stories every single night until I was old enough to read them myself. She attended every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every soccer game. She sat in the audience alone while other kids had both parents cheering for them. I knew she loved me. I never doubted that for a second. But there were things she could not fix. She could not explain why my parents did not want me. She could not make the other kids stop asking questions. She could not erase the empty feeling I carried inside. School was its own kind of torture. Every year in elementary school, we made cards for Mother's Day and Father's Day. The teacher would hand out construction paper and markers, and all the other kids would excitedly write messages to their moms and dads. I sat at my desk, staring at the blank paper, trying to figure out what to do. One year, I made a card for Grandma Martha and labeled it, "To my grandma who is like my mom." The teacher looked at it and gave me a pitying smile that made me want to disappear. The other kids noticed. They always noticed. "Where is your mom?" they would ask. "Why do you live with your grandma?" At first, I made up stories. I told them my parents were secret agents on a mission. I told them they were explorers in Antarctica. I told them they were coming back any day now. Eventually, I stopped making up stories. I just stopped talking about it altogether. When I turned 13, I discovered the internet could answer questions that no one else would. I spent weeks searching for Lucy and Derek online. I tried every combination of their names, every social media platform, every People Finder website. And then one night I found them. Lucy had a Facebook profile with her full name and a profile picture of her smiling on a beach. I clicked through her photos with trembling hands. There she was in San Diego, tanned and happy. There was Derek beside her, looking relaxed and carefree. They had photos from vacations in Hawaii, dinners at fancy restaurants, weekends on boats. Their life looked perfect. Their life looked expensive. Their life had no trace of me in it. Not a single mention, not a single photo. It was like I had never existed. I created a Facebook account just to send Lucy a message. I typed and deleted my words 100 times before I finally hit send. "Hi, this is Marcus, your son. Do you remember me?" I watched the message get delivered, then I watched it get read, then I watched nothing happen, no response. I waited a day, then 2 days, then a week. I sent another message asking if she received my first one. Read, no response. I sent a third message asking why she left me. Read, no response. I sent a fourth message begging her to just explain. Read, no response. That silence was louder than any words she could have said. It told me everything I needed to know about how much I mattered to her. The rejection sent me into a spiral. I started getting into fights at school. I talked back to teachers. I stopped caring about my grades. Grandma Martha had to pick me up from the principal's office more times than I can count. She never yelled at me. She never punished me harshly. She just held my hand and said, "I know you are hurting Marcus, but hurting other people will not make your pain go away." She took me to see a therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Sullivan, who helped me understand that my anger was really just sadness wearing a mask. It took years of work, but I slowly started to heal. I stopped fighting. I started focusing on school again. I began to accept that Lucy and Derek were never coming back, and that maybe, just maybe, I could build a good life without them. Everything changed again when I was 17. Grandma Martha started coughing more than usual. At first, she blamed it on allergies. Then she blamed it on a cold that would not go away. Finally, I convinced her to see a doctor. The diagnosis came back like a punch to the gut. Stage 4 lung cancer. The doctor said she had 6 months to a year if she was lucky. I remember sitting in that hospital waiting room feeling like the ground had been pulled out from under me all over again. The one person who had never left me was about to leave, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Those last 6 months were the hardest and most precious of my life. I juggled school and a part-time job at the local grocery store so I could help pay for her medications. I learned how to cook her favorite soup because she could not stand long enough to make it herself. I read to her at night just like she used to read to me. I held her hand through the pain and the fear, and the slow fading away. She never complained. She never asked why this was happening to her. She just kept telling me how proud she was of me and how much she loved me. 2 months before my high school graduation, Grandma Martha passed away in her sleep. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. Her final words to me were, "You are stronger than you know, Marcus. Do not let the past define your future." I planned her funeral alone. I paid for it with the money from my job and a small life insurance policy she had kept up for years. I sent a message to Lucy through Facebook informing her that her mother had passed away. I thought maybe, just maybe, she would show up. Maybe this would be the thing that finally made her realize she had a son who needed her. The funeral came and went. Lucy and Derek did not appear. They did not send flowers. They did not send a card. They did not even respond to my message. I stood at Grandma Martha's grave, surrounded by her church friends and neighbors, feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. That was the day I stopped waiting for my parents to come back. That was the day I truly let them go. After Grandma Martha's funeral, I sold her house and used the money to put myself through community college. I worked 2 jobs while taking classes full-time. I slept 4 hours a night and survived on coffee and determination. I did not have time to feel sorry for myself. I did not have the luxury of giving up. Every time I wanted to quit, I heard Grandma Martha's voice in my head telling me I was stronger than I knew. I graduated with honors and transferred to a state university. 4 years later, I had a degree in accounting and a job offer from a financial firm in Columbus. I rented a small apartment, bought secondhand furniture, and started building a life that was entirely my own. No one handed me anything. No one rescued me. I rescued myself. By the time I turned 28, my life had found a comfortable rhythm. I had been promoted twice at work and was finally making enough money to stop counting every penny. I had a 1-bedroom apartment that I had decorated exactly the way I wanted. I had a cat named Chester who kept me company on quiet evenings, and I had Samantha. We met at a coffee shop near my office when we both reached for the last blueberry muffin at the same time. She insisted I take it. I insisted she take it. We ended up splitting it and talking for 3 hours. That was 2 years ago, and she had become the best part of my days. Samantha knew everything about my past. She knew about Lucy and Derek, about Grandma Martha, about the abandonment and the silence. She never pitied me. She never treated me like I was broken. She just loved me exactly as I was. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had found my family. The phone call came on a Friday evening in October. I was sitting on my couch watching a movie with Chester, curled up on my lap. My phone rang with an unknown number, and I almost did not answer. Something made me pick up. The voice on the other end was familiar in a distant, dreamlike way. "Marcus, this is Lucy, your mother." I felt my entire body go cold. 24 years of silence, and now she was calling me like we had just spoken yesterday. I could not speak. I could not move. I just sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, waiting for her to explain why she was reaching out after all this time. Lucy's voice was sweet and cheerful, like she was calling to catch up with an old friend. She told me that she and Derek had been thinking about me a lot lately. She said they had done a lot of growing and reflecting over the years. She said they were ready to be a family again. Then she dropped the real reason for her call. She was pregnant. At 47 years old, after thinking she could never have more children, she was expecting a baby, a little girl. She said the baby deserved to know her big brother. She said they wanted me to come to San Diego for the baby shower. She said they wanted me to be part of their family again. As she talked, I realized she had not asked me a single question about my life. She had not asked how I was doing, where I was working, or who I was dating. She had not mentioned Grandma Martha or acknowledged that I had spent 16 years without parents. She just talked about herself and her baby and her needs. I listened to Lucy describe the nursery they were decorating in shades of pink and white. I listened to her explain that they had already picked out a name, something elegant and unique. I listened to her suggest that since I was family, I could help out with babysitting once the baby arrived. Family should help each other, right? she said with a little laugh, as if we had always been close. Derek got on the phone briefly to add his piece. He said they were young and stupid when they left me, but now they were ready to make things right. He said this baby was a chance for a fresh start. He said he hoped I could forgive them and move forward together. I heard his words, but all I could think about was a 4-year-old boy standing at a window, watching his parents drive away and never come back. I agreed to meet them, but not on their terms. I told them I would only meet in Columbus at a coffee shop near my apartment. They said they were visiting friends in Ohio soon anyway, so they would make it work. We set a date for 2 weeks later. When I hung up the phone, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. The coffee shop was small and quiet on a Tuesday afternoon. I arrived early and sat in a corner booth watching the door. I saw them walk in before they saw me. Lucy looked older but well put together, with carefully styled hair and expensive jewelry. Her belly was round beneath a designer dress. Derek was right behind her, his hair graying at the temples, but still carrying himself like a man who thought highly of himself. They spotted me and smiled like this was a happy reunion, like we were finally coming together after a brief misunderstanding. Lucy hugged me before I could stop her. She smelled like perfume and entitlement. "Marcus, you look so grown up," she said, as if she had any right to comment on how I had turned out. We sat down and they immediately started talking about themselves. Lucy showed me ultrasound photos on her phone. Derek talked about the house they had just renovated in San Diego. Lucy mentioned the baby shower and all the people who were coming. Derek joked about how tired he was going to be with a newborn at his age. They laughed and smiled and acted like this was normal. Like we were a normal family, having a normal conversation. They did not ask about my job or my apartment or my girlfriend. They did not ask what I had been doing for the past 24 years. They did not mention Grandma Martha at all. It was like the first 28 years of my life had simply not happened in their world. I sat there, listening to them plan their perfect little future with their perfect little baby, and something inside me finally snapped. Not in an angry way, in a clear, calm way. I realized that they had not come back for me. They had come back for themselves. They wanted me to play a role in their story, not because they cared about me, but because it would make them feel better about what they had done. They wanted to be able to tell their new daughter that they had a son who loved them, that they were a real family. They wanted to use me to erase their guilt. I set down my coffee cup and looked at Lucy directly in her eyes. "Did you come to Grandma Martha's funeral?" I asked. My voice was calm but firm. Lucy blinked and glanced at Derek. Neither of them answered. "She raised me alone for 13 years, I continued. "She was the one who fed me and clothed me and held me when I cried. She was the one who showed up for every school event and taught me what love actually looks like. And when she died with only me by her side. You did not come, you did not send flowers, you did not even respond to my message telling you she was gone." Lucy opened her mouth to say something, but I was not finished. "You say you were young and stupid when you left me, but you were not that young. Lucy, you were 31 years old. Derek, you were 33. You were adults who made a choice. You chose to abandon your 4-year-old son because you wanted to have fun in California. And for 16 years, you never once checked on me. You never called. You never wrote. When I found you on Facebook and begged you to explain, you read my messages and ignored them. Every single one." Derek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Lucy's smile had faded, and she looked like she was searching for words. "Marcus, we are sorry," she finally said. "We know we made mistakes. But we want to fix things now. We want you to know your little sister. We want to be a family." I shook my head slowly. "You do not want to fix anything. You want free babysitting and a prop for your happy family photos. You want to tell everyone that your son came back so you do not have to feel guilty anymore. But I am not here to make you feel better about yourselves. I spent my entire childhood wondering what was wrong with me, why my own parents did not want me. I spent years in therapy trying to undo the damage you caused. And you think you can just show up now and pretend none of that happened? I stood up from the booth, leaving my coffee untouched. You are the worst parents anyone could ever have. That baby girl deserves better than you. I hope she never has to feel what I felt. I hope she never has to wonder why her parents did not love her enough to stay. But I will not be part of this. I will not pretend that we are a family when you threw me away like I was nothing. I reached into my wallet and put a $10 bill on the table for my coffee. Then I looked at Lucy one last time. Goodbye, Lucy. Goodbye, Derek. Please do not contact me again. I walked out of that coffee shop without looking back. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had truly stood up for myself. The days after that meeting were harder than I expected. I thought I would feel triumphant. I thought I would feel free. Instead, I felt empty. I sat alone in my apartment that night with all the lights off, staring at the ceiling and replaying the conversation in my head. Samantha came over without me asking. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug that lasted for 5 full minutes. She did not ask questions. She did not try to fix anything. She just held me and let me be sad. That night, I cried for the first time in years. I cried for the 4-year-old boy who never understood why his parents left. I cried for the teenager who sent messages that were never answered. I cried for Grandma Martha who gave me everything and got so little in return. And I cried for the family I always wanted but never got to have. Lucy called me 3 times that week. The first voicemail was angry. She said I was being selfish and immature. She said I was punishing an innocent baby for mistakes that happened years ago. The second voicemail was different. She was crying and begging me to reconsider. She said she was sorry, really sorry this time. She said she just wanted a chance to make things right. The third voicemail was short. She just said she hoped I would change my mind someday and that she loved me. I deleted all 3 messages and blocked both of their numbers. Some doors need to stay closed. I started seeing a new therapist, someone who specialized in family trauma and abandonment issues. Her name was Dr. Reyes, and she helped me understand something important. She told me that forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. I could forgive Lucy and Derek for my own peace of mind without ever letting them back into my life. Forgiveness was about freeing myself from the weight of anger and resentment. Reconciliation would require them to take real accountability for what they did, and based on that meeting, they were not capable of that. They did not want to heal our relationship. They wanted to pretend the damage did not exist. Those are 2 very different things. The healing process was slow and nonlinear. Some days I felt strong and confident in my decision. Other days, I wondered if I had been too harsh. Samantha was patient with all of it. She listened when I needed to talk and gave me space when I needed to be alone. She never once suggested that I should give Lucy and Derek another chance. She trusted me to know what was best for my own life. One afternoon, I drove to the cemetery where Grandma Martha was buried. I sat on the grass beside her headstone and talked to her like I used to when she was alive. I told her about the meeting with Lucy and Derek. I told her what I said to them. I asked if she thought I did the right thing. The wind blew gently through the trees, and I swear I heard her voice in my head saying, "I am proud of you, Marcus." Maybe it was my imagination, maybe it was something more. Either way, it brought me peace. 6 months after that conversation at the coffee shop, Samantha and I moved in together. We adopted a second cat to keep Chester company and named her Martha after my grandmother. We started talking about our future, about marriage and maybe children someday. I told Samantha that if we ever had kids, I wanted to be the father I never had. I wanted to be present and loving and consistent. I wanted my children to never doubt for a single second that they were wanted and cherished. She held my hand and told me I was already more than capable of that. She told me that everything I had been through had shaped me into someone strong and compassionate and resilient. She told me she was grateful that I had survived it all so we could find each other. Looking back now, I understand that family is not determined by blood. Family is determined by choice. Lucy and Derek chose to walk away from me. Grandma Martha chose to stay. Samantha chooses to love me every single day. The people who show up when life gets hard, the people who stand by you through the darkest moments, those are your real family. I spent so many years mourning the parents I lost. Now I focus on celebrating the family I have built. It is smaller than some and unconventional by most standards, but it is filled with more love than Lucy and Derek could ever understand. I do not hate my biological parents anymore. Hatred takes too much energy, and I have better things to spend my energy on. I feel something closer to pity for them. They missed out on knowing me. They missed out on all the milestones and achievements and ordinary moments that make a life meaningful. They have a new baby now, a daughter who will grow up not knowing she has a brother out there somewhere. Maybe they will be better parents to her. I genuinely hope so for her sake, but I am no longer available to witness it or participate in it. That chapter of my life is closed. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who share your blood but never shared your pain. You do not owe anyone a relationship just because they are related to you. You do not have to forgive people who are not sorry. You do not have to open doors that were nailed shut for good reasons. Family is not about DNA. It is about who shows up when life gets hard. And for me, that was a 70-year-old woman with arthritis and a heart full of gold. She was my family. She will always be. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from family members who hurt you? How did you find the strength to protect yourself and build your own happiness? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through the same thing. If this video resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel so you do not miss future stories. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message today, share this video with them. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I wish you peace, healing, and a family that chooses you every single day. Take care of yourselves.